Right, it's a very interesting one. I think the ruins will be probably the big question. But here we go. Game number 1 of round 2. Red take it on Liberty. It is going to be Spellbook, as you said. Remember, winner plays Furia next week. Loser goes home, watches the rest of the playoffs from their couch, thinks about what went wrong in the split.
And hopefully comes back stronger for next play, right? Especially if it's red. If you're going down 0-2 in your first 2 rounds of playoffs as the champions, that's just not a storyline that any red fan wants to see. Game 1, though, we can start looking at runes. It is the area picked up for Grevthar, so that is the very poke-heavy type of build for the Victor, right? You're not going all in, you're going for the poke and lane, keeping Zilean out as much as possible, and then no sorcery even for Crastiel. He's just going for the full damage like I was hoping for on the spellbook.
I like the spellbook. I like the teleport. I think it's basically going to enable that Zilean to be all over the place. Again, it's a very interesting pick. I think only the second pick we've seen from the Zilean. The Xayah, interesting pick as well with the area. I'm curious how that lane will go. As you pointed out, Camcom, one of the few ADCs that does sort of stand a chance against Jinx. As Kiari walked up, said hello. I am curious, though, because the Liberty is leashing that blue buff for Desamus. That means Leona's going to hit hopefully level 2 first. And if you get a Leona level 2 engage, that could be a flash blown, potentially, or a cleanse blown from Matsukaze. So Liberty has to be very careful on that level 2 Leona spike.
Yeah, and even level 1 a little bit, right? Because JoJo or even Nautilus is just not a great level 1 champion. You can land a hook, but that's about it. And that is going to be the level 1 engage, but fortunately not going to be able to find a whole lot of damage onto Wash. Just one pop popped by Matsukaze.
Trying to probably see if they could blow that cleanse early, but Matsukaze holds on to it. Again, as soon as JoJo hits 2, unless their lane is just super pushed, I would assume he wants to go in, but Liberty respects that by a whole lot. They back all the way up to their tower. They're not even going to let JoJo go in. And now Xayah can start that poke to keep Titan nice and low in lane and allow them for some counter engage here. Meanwhile, everything else pretty slow. Kiari dominating that lane, though he does take a tower shot. And with the Vegadar coming up, you always have to be worried to give Gigo any extra incentive to go in, but I don't think Gnar has any plans right now, at least.
Yeah, and I just want to comment quickly about how Aegis did decide to start topside here. He knew that bot side was just going to always have prio, right? Jinx Leona is a very high prio, high damage bot lane in the early game. So pathing away from Lee Sin as well, you definitely don't want to 1v1 a Lee Sin level 2, level 3 for Scuttle. So he is playing for the more slightly defensive, play towards your bot lane type strategy. Meanwhile, of course, Desamus, this is assuming that Kiari is able to get ahead. He can do damage on this Grave, so Desamus doing the complete opposite of Aegis, playing for the top side. Very likely we will see vertical jungling in this game.
A little disappointed there's no giant ducks. Can't believe they disabled the April Fool's jokes for an official tournament gameplay, right? Come on, commit to the bit. I'm just kidding, of course. But yeah, I think you're right. Can't come out and assume we get vertical jungling. I would assume with that Graves, especially the play probably is get Graves ahead. Because Crastiel getting ahead is irrelevant. So it's probably not the... I think Gigo is playing this correctly, letting Graves push in. It's going to be almost impossible, especially if he manages his rage correctly, to attempt to tower dive a Mega Gnar. So you deny all of the early game for Desamus and Liberty. It's a fantastic play here for Red. They're not looking panicked at all like I was worried about in the pregame. But we're only 4 minutes in. We have another 30 plus to go. So I won't get too excited yet.
I mean, Red, they picked the perfect non-panic draft, right? There's so much insurance. Even if you go 0-3, 0-4 in laning phase as a team, at 20 minutes, your team fight is just going to be so much better than Liberty's. You can run at them, and you can just start taking them out with the power of your wallets, right? So if you wanted a non-panic draft, drafting super high meta and super high comfort at this point in the split as well, Victor, Jinx, you start putting gold to them, even if you're panicked, even if you're tilted coming into the series, that is almost a one and done insurance policy that I just absolutely love.
Dragon's up in 20 seconds. We've seen some dragon priority, but with being a cloud drake, I don't think either jungler would be too excited, as we can definitely tell the spectators at CBLOL very excited to see Zilean. It's about the 3rd time he's gotten a solo screen time there as he teleports back to lane. Everybody basically resets, though Gigo, he still hasn't taken his back. He'll walk away. Kiari picking up the call, and 5 minutes in, every lane will opt for a reset besides bot lane, and it's pretty even. Desamus in mid lane, but I don't think Grevthar's pushed enough forward, and with that, he should have seen that Crastiel gave that experience up, so yeah, he won't even try and challenge that, and we'll just reset again. Basically dead even. Red with a less than 200 lead. Oh, JoJo's going to go in there, but it was on a Nautilus. Yeah, I got way more excited than it was worth.
Yeah, I kept quiet for a little bit of extra time there, too. I was like, ooh, that might be an engage, but yeah, most likely neither of these bot lanes. They are playing for the poke, I would say. Yes, there are 2 engaged champions, but most likely, once JoJo and Was hit level 6, they're not playing for this bot lane. You leave Titan and Matsukaze down here alone as much as you possibly can. They need the solo XP, they need the solo gold, and the faster that they can get it, the more damage that both of these comps will eventually be able to do. But Fish, there's a 5-minute dragon going on right now.
You said the vertical jungling. He just realizes the dragon's basically his jungle. He says it might be Cloud Dragon, but why not? The Psalm is now looking to go in. The Gnar does get popped by Gigo, but not into the wall on Chiari. He will land a stun, but realizes he's running out of Mega Gnar form, so another fake engage. His first dragon goes over to red, but it's a Cloud Dragon, so I know 90% of the League of Legends world literally could not care Capcom. I think that is the most hated and most boring dragon for 90% of the player base.
It's also the most useless right now when nobody even has ults on the map. So, you know, it'll be useful in a couple of minutes when people do start popping level 6 and using their ultimates. But before then, yes, it will quite literally be doing nothing for either of these teams here. 1-0 on Dragons is really the only tangible lead that we have on the map right now. So Red, with an ever slight lead in this early game. I'm saying slight because I am expecting Liberty to be able to do the same thing, pick up the first Rift Town on the top side, and that can absolutely snowball into something bigger, whether it's a fight, whether it's a couple plates for an important member. That is when hopefully the game will start to open up a little bit more.
I'm curious if Red will challenge that Rift Herald, and that's kind of where that vertical jungling ends, because, I mean, Rift Heralds have been a loved objective in CBLOL. That first Rift Herald, especially if your Liberty is so important, because you're not getting ganks onto Gigo. 3 plates is more than enough gold onto that Graves in the top lane. Yeah. So I'm curious if Red will start to rotate up. They are getting shoved in the bot lane, which does make it a bit harder for JoJo and Titan to rotate up now as it's spawning here soon. So I think it might be a delayed rotation. But you already see Aegis is kind of taking that spot around Rift Herald. They clearly are not going to just hand over Rift Herald like Liberty handed over Dragon. I think that's the right call because they realize that's how Liberty can get back in this game a little bit, is with that Rift Herald.
Yeah, and currently Liberty does have full topside prayer. They have for the previous 8 minutes of this game so far. Chiari just constantly shoving Guigo underneath his tower. That is usually how Gnars are forced to play their lane, is under their tower. Most of the time they don't get to bully out other ranged top laners mostly, so he's here for the team fight engage later on in this game. Any gold and any amount of deaths that he is able to avoid in this top lane is very much worth for him, and that is why they did decide to pick Gnar for him in this game 1. And this is the Rift Herald I was expecting, but not quite the contest that we were expecting from Red.
There is a ward there, so Red has an idea this is going on. They might be coming in for a late flip here. Gigo's going to come in the Mega Gnar. Super Mega Death Rocket does miss, and Aegis just picks it up for free. Thank you for the leash. Liberty just walked away from a free leash Rift Herald. That was an insanely odd play, Capcom. Now we get a duel of the 80 carries in the bot lane. Titan is out of mana, though, so he has to be very careful. Does not have the ult either. So he would disengage, and that's a win for Red, basically, out of nowhere.
Yeah, win for Red across the map, especially his Titan not dying down there in the bot lane as well, is just even more worth for him. I definitely think if he did decide to continue fighting that, especially without lethal tempo stacked up, he would have definitely lost that 1v1 to Matsukaze. And yeah, of Aegis, he walked up, he said thanks for the Rift Herald, guys, smited and walked away. Nothing else really happened, not even a single summoner burn to try and turn it around. And Guigo,
oh, he misses the Gnar! He had it all set up. Chiari was out of mana. And he just straight whip. Hey, the Cloud Dragon's coming in handy now, Capcom, because Gigo can try that again slightly sooner. I do think it's interesting. Gigo actually picked up Rift Herald. I don't know if that was intended or he just accidentally walked over it. So that sends a message. We want to drop this Rift Herald top. You can see the Psalmist has come up. Aegis is rotated up. The Psalmist is here. They're going to go for the engage, but Gnar does not have any rage. Because he went Mega Gnar, he can't even start channeling it. JoJo is here. Zenith Blade. Solar Flare for first blood onto Chiari, but the Psalmist looking for revenge. Revenge will pick it up. Super Mega Death Rocket from downtown will come into Samus. Great ult by Crastiel is going to bring it back to life. Aegis trying to hang on. Wasp will flash away. And Liberty goes 3 for 1 in the top lane as the Samus picks up a triple kill. Thanks to that Zillion, the Chrono ship brings it back to life.
Triple kill for the early game Lee Sin. That is absolutely insane by Liberty. We were expecting that fight for the Rift Herald, not for after the Rift Herald, right? So they knew Guigo was trying to drop this one, so they absolutely were able to come in for at least some sort of fight up here on the top side. Both the supports roaming up did play a really huge factor. Unfortunately, the only kill that Red were able to take was that first blood for JoJo. So not the most important member in terms of gold, but yes, absolutely, that ultimate from Crastiel was just what turned the entire team fight. If DeSamus died right there without the chrono break on top of his head, then that fight would have went so much more in favor of Red. It was just a little bit unfortunate that Crastiel didn't have his ultimate burn before that fight.
And the crazy thing was, is since Guigo had just gone Gnar, there's that 15-second window or Mega Gnar where he can't gain Rage. So they basically were fighting with Mini Gnar, which is one of the weakest champions in the game. That felt like a weird force from Red. I don't know if Guigo went in too early, and when he missed the Gnar, that's kind of threw things off as he will drop the Rift Herald top lane. He's going to Gnar Chiari into the tower, or into the wall, excuse me, and get some damage off. But fighting 3v3 with a Mini Gnar was in the playoffs. That's like a mistake, Capcom, that you really can't afford to make, especially from a man who was benched last week. That was wild, and that triple kill means it's a free Hextech Dragon for Liberty, and we will get a Ocean Soul for the rest of the game.
Yes, Ocean Dragons for the rest of the game. Lots of healing for your mana and your health now as well. Now, someone doesn't have mana for DeSamus, but you know that. That'll still help regenerate the energy at least a little bit. Tied on Dragons now, 1-1. Gold lead is still, I would consider, very even. Anything less than 1,000 is basically even in my books. The 300 gold shutdown I do believe that they have on DeSamus, that can end up closing the gold lead. The Rift Herald for the solo plates on Guigo, that was mostly what closed the gold lead after the triple kill. Yes, that is the 300 shutdown. Gordrick completed very early as well. Typically, junglers are completing their mythics after all the solo laners, so the fact that he's got it before any of the solo laners does kind of show these ganks from DeSamus in the next couple of minutes will be very, very scary.
Fortunately for Liberty, there's really there's no objectives for DeSamus to fight over with that gold. He's going to have to choose his ganks wisely. Maybe he looks down bot lane for the first time where Titan and JoJo have basically had free reign. Maybe he tries to go back to Chiari to get ahead as JoJo and Titan are going to walk right in. The dredge line misses, though. It hits a wall. An important Capcom also with that Rift Herald, it got blown on the first 2 plates, which are usually the easiest plates to take as the tower gets extra armor every plate that goes down. So Guigo kind of had a panic, used that Rift Herald, so it got plates. It didn't get the greatest value of plates as DeSamus. He realizes he's 3-0. He wants to go in, and Red cannot afford to take this fight at all.
Yeah, DeSamus playing the scary which bush am I in game here now. Aegis, he's about to face check him. I don't think he will fully face check him with this, but this could absolutely be a fight right here.
Oh, are they going to try and take this? JoJo maybe looking for Zenith Blade. Wow, he just picks up the red buff. DeSamus didn't even smite. He's like, no, I don't need a smite. So I think kind of wasted, but I think really Liberty wanted Red to go in or wanted a pick. Guigo will get another plate here. That'll basically shrink that gold lead down even smaller, back down to 800 gold. But this Graves has been just a bully in the top lane. It hasn't done really much of anything. It's picked up the Eclipse, that's about it. The turret plates fall, and we'll see where the first turret gold goes, because so far this has been your typical playoff game, Capcom. No one wants to make a mistake. They just played very safe for the most part.
Very safe, except for the, 3v3 up here on the top side. It's about to be another fight, I think. Maybe. No?
Aegis was in the brush before they turned off Fog of War, but he just ended up turning around. And I will say, you called this bot lane matchup perfectly. You mentioned Xayah has the ability to outrange that Jinx. Every time we've gone down bot lane, Titans at half health or lower because of those feathers just being peppered in from Matsukaze. This was a fantastic pick into that Jinx. They kind of they banned the Zeri, baited, I think, Red into taking the Jinx and knew they had a perfect counter. This has been the perfect bot lane matchup. CS is dead even. Liberty couldn't have asked for a better bot lane, in my opinion, so far.
Yeah, just play bot lane safely, right? That is what they told Matsukaze and Was, and they've absolutely been able to pull that one off so far. You got 2 assists on Was right now, 0-0-0 still, but that's an engage.
Dredge line is going to land. They're going to hop right onto Grepthar. He gets kicked away, though. Desamis dropping low, does have the chrono shift, but they break it. Can they throw down the chompers in time to catch him out? No, he's able to dash away. Another dredge line lands onto Aegis. A full-out fight as Was goes down. Super Mega Death Rocket barely misses Crasiel. Staying alive, Matsukaze has to flash behind, but Titan will pick it up with the rocket range. Outrange that as they get 2 here for Red, and now this is free second Rift Herald.
Man, we cash a curse that so hard, Fish. We were just talking about how well and how safe Liberty's bot lane are playing, and then all of a sudden there's a 5v5, and guess who are the only 2 members to die is Liberty's bot lane. That is just unfortunately a cash to curse and a half. Second Rift Herald will be picked up even by Reds. They were able to take both Rift Heralds. This game does look like they're going to be dropping both on this top side outer turret as well. So this is, I believe, going to be second tower taken. I'm not sure if Kiari will be able to take that first tower on the bot side before this one is popped.
It's a race. Rift Herald's gonna pop it.
Nope, that's first tower for the Red. Just 1 auto, man. 1 auto for Kiari.
I think the crazy thing from that whole fight too, Capcom, is that was a great engage by Was. It was on to Grepthar, but Desamis Dragon Ranges him away. I don't know if he thought the Dragon Rage would kill, because all that did was give Grepthar extra range to stay alive. Then he had to go chasing him down. Did have the Chrono Shift on him, so he was able to come back to life, but you usually want a Dragon Rage for the execute or Dragon Rage kick for the execute. It was weird that he just kind of was like, hey, Grepthar, go back to your team. I don't want you to die. It was a very odd play by Desamis.
Yeah, Grepthar and Titan even are 2 of the least 2 champions that you absolutely don't want to be running into, and this is about to be a dragon fight, I think.
Solar Flare is going to miss on the backside. Dragon has been leashed, dropping to 5,000. Gnar has to jump away. Rage bar only at about 25, so Gigo's got to look for minions to auto attack. And I think Red has to reset here as Gigo stole the blast code away from Grepthar. Grepthar's now sitting up by that blue buff. Dragon now at 4,000 health. Both jugglers do have smite, though Lee Sin does have the slightly better dragon finish. It will reset. Nice hook onto Jojo. He goes down. Aegis has to run away. Great chrono shift again, bringing Desamis back to life. That should mean he has enough to finish off the dragon, but it's stolen away by the Super Mega Death Rocket. What a play from Titan.
Titan over the wall, completely untouched, sitting at just enough mana for 1 ability, and we'll absolutely use that for the ultimate. They had vision on it. That was not a blind steal, and Titan just able to time it perfectly against Desamis' smite. Will be able to secure the 2-1 dragon lead. Not quite the gold lead, but still within 400 of Liberty, and once everyone resets, we will see what the true gold lead is for both of these teams. But we do have a replay of that last dragon fight. It was the hook engage, or flash hook engage from Was that really started it. That's what pushed Aegis completely out of the fight. And once there's no jungler for Red, Liberty is like, okay, let's just focus the dragon. Unfortunately, Desamis did not hit the smite key in time, and now we get the player cam of Titan able to steal away the dragon. I wish we could hear what he shouted at them. That would be quite funny, but yes, they thought that there was no jungler. They thought there was no potential for a smite. That's why they all just dogpiled back on the dragon. They forgot that they still had to deal with the Super Mega Death Rocket.
It's fantastic. That basically turns that fight around as Red just stayed too long. I am worried. I mean, I know fighting around Mega Gnar is more of a dream than a reality sometimes, but Gigo was at 10-15 range, and you need to have Mega Gnar available for that Gnar in team fight. So I'm hoping Red can start to fight around it a bit more. They have lost a 3v3 in the top lane where he was permanently mini Gnar, so make sure you fight around that Mega Gnar a bit more. I think that fight goes a lot smoother, but I will say Was had some great dredge lines in there. Unfortunately, the second one landed onto Jojo, and if there's a target you ever don't want to flash dredge line, it's Jojo, because it's just a Leona. They're so tanky anyway, you're going to waste so much damage. So a great hook, but unfortunately onto the wrong target. That's some great body blocking from that Leona.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is usually what you do hope to see from your engaged supports here. Looking towards the outer turrets that are still standing. I can't quite tell if Red still has an outer turret. I don't believe they do, so the only one still standing for Red is that top outer turret, despite Kiari being underneath that tower for almost the entirety of the first 10 minutes of the game. He was able to take the second tower on the bot side first, before that outer turret on the top. I don't even understand how that's possible, but we are starting to look towards this tower now. I am expecting this to be where the next fight will occur, as you do start to see all 9 members of these teams roaming up here. Red, Guigo even the only one being not available. He does have TP though, just in case anything does break out.
Hopefully they can fight around that Nars. Here comes the attempt to dive onto Grevthar, Everthros, and a Dredgeline are going to land. Here comes the teleport from Guigo. Can he even get in the fight in time? The answer is no. Super Mega Death Rocket does come down. The Psalm is saved once again by the Chrono Shift, but I think he flashes away. They can't even catch him. Thought they maybe had him with the Leona and the Flame Choppers. Guigo going to go in. Looks for the Gnar. Only lands it onto one. Kiari will go down. The Psalm is able to jump away. Wasp will flash over the wall. Titan, though, wants to get excited. Needs that move speed. Picks up one onto Wasp. Featherstorm's going to cancel out the auto onto Matsukaze. And the disengage here, plus a great Everfrost, should mean Liberty gets away home free. The Psalm is saved once again, but Red, with the great turnaround, made that an even trade, 2 for 1.
Yeah, 1 for 2 in the favor of Red, and they get to keep their outer turret in the top lane again, which does mean that there might just be another fight up there, as you see 3,700 damage in that fight from Titan. They left the Jinx untouched. Now Jinx has the second item completed as well. Phantom Dancer plus Kraken Slayer. Very, very high damage. No defense in that build here quite yet, most likely meaning he will be building some sort of defense item as a third item. I do hope so. Titan, you leave this Jinx untouched. That is the kind of damage that you do expect to see in Titan. Absolutely able to carry that team fight with it.
Yeah, and a perfect play this time around the Gnar. Gigo gets the Gnar into the wall to start the re-engage. And this Zilean pick has been money. It's, I believe, now the 4th time Desamus has been saved by the Chrono Shift. And it's really enabling this Lee Sin, who is starting to fall off. 3-0-2 at 20 minutes. Isn't as powerful as 3-0 at 9 minutes like he was earlier. But it's allowing him to go in, try and get some early damage, basically finish off Grevthar, and then he can stay alive. And despite having a Camcom that should be able to lock someone down in stasis with the Flame Chompers, with the Leona, Desamus has gotten away every single time.
Yeah, and that is what makes it so scary, right? Absolutely. And 300 shutdown, but unfortunately that triple kill just hasn't really turned into any other tangible lead here for Liberty. He hasn't been able to push it into something like a 5-0 or maybe more kills onto Kiari or Crastiel, one of his solo laners. Instead, starting up the second dragon now for Liberty makes me very terrified. Titan does have Super Mega Death Rocket, but without any vision on it, will just be the no contest for the second dragon. Aegis on the top side, though.
They know 2 members are a dragon. They could take this fight for 3. Wasp has to Dredgeline out. Solar Flare not going to land onto Crastiel, but they do get the slow. Chrono Shift comes out. Desamus is going to jump onto Titan. He Dragon raises him away, but he can't quite finish the kill. There's no revive this time. Crastiel out of blow it. Gigo has 80 rage. He could potentially land a huge Mega Gnar, but everyone has to disengage. It was a great call by Red. They saw as soon as the dragon goes down, they knew at least one member wasn't going to be in the fight. Unfortunately, Waz had a great Dredgeline to escape, and once again the Zilean value is massive because he keeps himself alive this time.
Yes, Crastiel on the Zilean here. Such a strong pick in this game. One, of course, Zilean found a whole lot of popularity this year because Bjergsen is back playing it in the North American region. So that's mostly why everyone has been starting to pick it up a whole lot more. If Bjergsen wasn't playing this year again, I would definitely say that Zilean would just not have been picked, at least in this match. But definitely has been coming back a little bit into the meta just because you see someone play it, they play it well, you start playing it again. I talked about it in draft. Grevthar had that same Twisted Fate last split. Twisted Fate still high enough of a prio to be banned here in this very game one, unfortunately. So hopefully we get to see the classic Grevthar Twisted Fate. I've always been a fan of it.
If Twisted Fate gets through, I will be blown away. I feel like with just and if you Twisted Fate gets through, you have to make sure you get the counter rise for whichever team, because you need someone who can follow Twisted Fate to the end of the earth. Maybe you go Silas, but that Destiny, especially early game with the teleport changes, I feel like makes Twisted Fate almost a permaban, like we've seen at least in CBLOL, one of the most banned champions. As we do see Grevstar kind of scouts out that they're going to rotate over to Baron, and I will say, despite this Zillion pick doing everything we talked about it in draft, it's not doing it onto the carries like Kiari or Matsukaze. It's either doing it onto Crastiel himself or Desamus, who's not having as much damage on this Lee Sin. They need Kiari to start popping off. 0-2 and 3 on the Graves. I know you mentioned that you and Axeman aren't fans, and you're kind of being proved right, because this Graves just isn't doing anything. He hasn't even gotten his tier 1 top tower yet at 25 minutes. He should get it right now. He will. Dominated that matchup, finally gets tier 1 top lane. I guess that's something to be happy about, but Gigo says, I'll just trade you in the bot lane. So it's 3 towers to 2. It's only that mid tier 1, which is a power turret that's still up for Liberty. That is a huge win for them, but Gigo's just going to keep pushing.
Yeah, both the top laner, or no, just Guigo, even like you did mention, is still splitting for this bot lane. I don't believe he'll actually completely commit to walking up and autoing the tower, but yes, pushing that last wave will force someone to match. Kiara, being the one that just recalled, will be the one to be able to match it first. Baron kind of hinted at a start there by Liberty. I don't think they're actually looking to start it here anytime soon. You need a pick really onto Aegis even. It can't just be on anyone, it has to be onto Aegis at this point, and then you can look to start a Baron. So I'm not expecting to fight around Baron anytime soon, but yes, like you did say, that last outer turret still sitting in the mid lane for Liberty. That is the next huge objective for Red to try and take.
Hopefully they take it in the next 90 seconds, because Ocean Dragon will be spawning, the third Ocean Dragon of the game. Will put a team on soul point, so we still are very far away from even Elder or an Ocean Soul being part of the play, but something we have to keep on the mind in the playoffs. The games seem to go longer and longer. It's not been a kill bonanza like we've seen at times in CBLOL. It's been very calculated from both these teams. But Ocean's that next objective. Everyone from Liberty basically holding their lanes. Kiari's going to go down to the bot side and push that so that he has Dragon priority. And so far, I think it really comes down to the minor CS differences, and that really favors Titan in the bot lane. It favors Kiari in the top lane.
Yeah, just the very, very small things that can eventually lead to something much bigger. 1,500 gold right now in the favor of Liberty. But this next dragon fight, I don't think Red is giving another dragon 2 in a row to Liberty. This is going to be a big fight. You have to look at TP's Grevstar hiding up there in the top side. Aegis, don't get caught.
Ooh, Wasp now has to be careful. He does get away. That did force a teleport from Grevstar, though. So now all of Red is here, and look at that rage bar for Gigo. If there's a time to go in, it's right now. But you don't have the tier 1 turret to continue this dive. Here comes Kiari. Teleport's going to be channeled. Gigo's got to build rage. He's going to land the hook onto Jojo. He's the first one to go down. Was going to stopwatch it, barely any HP, and come back to life. That was actually the chrono shift, excuse me. So that was blown on the least valuable target. But unfortunately, Red is just taking too much damage. Wasp wants to go in. Drenchline is going to land onto Gigo in Mega Gnar form. Here comes Aegis. He just simply disengaged. 2 already down, making 3 as Kiari goes over the wall. And Liberty's going to get the clean ace. And now they're going to walk over to Baron.
Aegis, my friend, he decided the scuttle is more important than the team fight. Oh my gosh. I was just watching him there, and I was like, wait, he just threw everything into the scuttle, and he got the scuttle, but his whole team got extended ace there as well. Jojo, I think, respawned just before it would have been an official ace. But yeah, 5-0 in favor of Liberty in this 5v5 for the Dragon as well as the Baron. You see the engage from Was. Yes, you originally did say that Crastiel's ultimate was wasted on the least important, but I think keeping him alive was what was able to re-engage in this team fight. The next hook that landed there onto Guigo, stopping the Gnar from hitting anyone else. And then, of course, the double bomb from Crastiel even as well. That was what really turned the team fight. The hook into the double bomb. That was absolutely huge. And off of that, they were able to secure the third dragon and the Baron for all 5 members on Liberty.
I'll be honest, I think Asia's made the right play. I think the rest of the team made the wrong play. I think that was a disengage that should have been called because they were all 50%, as you pointed out. I was wrong. Wasp was probably the most important member because that hook wins the fight. But I think they should have just all walked away, and maybe that's what Aegis was trying to do. So let's like disengage. We'll get the river scuttle. Maybe we can contest the dragon with the super mega death rocket or a flash smite. If we're gonna get another one, teleport's gonna come in from Gigo. He's racing in. Jojo will force Crastiel's flash away. So Liberty, even with the Baron buff, nearly gets surprised here. Gigo, over on a ward, does not know that, so they'll trade a tier 1 mid turret for a tier 2 top turret and more. But they needed that mid turret to open up the map, so it's not a bad call from Red. They just have to get back in time before they lose this top inhibitor.
Inhibitor tower will definitely fall. It is just a question of whether the inhibitor will fall after it, and I say that and it's just gone at the span of like 3 seconds, right? So it is just going to be taken away. Mid outer turret, yes, it is a very important turret to take, but is it so important that you have to drop your inhibitor for it? I'm not entirely sure. Baron power play will run out here in just over a minute. That inhibitor will be gone for Ocean Soul for Liberty. That is the most important reason really to take it here. You will have 2 minutes left on that inhibitor being down for Ocean Soul fight. That's going to be the big deciding fight. If the last fight for the third dragon wasn't what broke it in the favor of Liberty, then this Ocean Soul absolutely will. And they can take every advantage they possibly can. Inhibitor being down by far will be the biggest one for that fight.
Kiari now has a 2-level lead, just hit 18, first player in the game to reach max level, and he's 2 levels ahead of everybody else. That CS lead over Gigo has just grown and grown, and now this Graves for the next 30 seconds is going to be an absolute menace. This tier 2 bot tower, yeah, this is just absolutely gone. Kiari maybe even looking for an engage here. Smoke screen going to land, but they'll disengage. And now, can Liberty siege this bot inhibitor in time? A ton of damage going out onto Jojo and Titan there. And it looks like I think Baron will potentially run out before this tower will fall, but they're going to get a significant amount of damage as Titan and Jojo both have to back. This is an opportunity. One more Baron and power waved. This bot inhibitor turret's going to go down. Do they go in, Camcom is the question.
Inhibitor is about to fall there as well. Baron now gone. 2 inhibitors gone though as well. And with that full disengage from Liberty, 2 inhibitors taken with that single Baron that they were able to take on top of the dragon, on top of the team fight. Liberty pushing every single advantage that they can with just absolutely everything. 5 manning the top, 5 manning the bot. That is how you are able to play with your win condition. And DeSalmis, the triple kill on the early game for the first blood, still not having picked up another kill for himself, but finally able to transition that lead onto every single other member of his team. You see 4 bounties now on the board for them. I'm almost expecting objective bounty spawn here in a second for Red.
Yeah, Red is now fallen. This gold lead was dead even through most of that game. Now up to 5,000. As you said, I would assume objective bounties will spawn. Give that Ocean Soul, if it needed any more value, a bit more for Red if it does come in time. And you do see, as you point out, Camcom, getting that top lane is huge because there is a pretty big wave pushing into the Red base. Now, Grabstar doesn't even have, no one has teleport either. They've completely mismanaged their teleports. They now have to basically hand over Ocean for free or lose their base. As you see, Guigo's going to start backing here. This was a huge mistake from Red. They have to take this fight. The game is over if they do not take this fight right here. And they're going to go in. Aegis the first one. Solar Flare going to land on to 2. Titan in the back line. As we see 1 member already go down. The Chrono Ship will come back. Guardian Angel going to trigger onto DeSalmis. It's a 1-on-3 there for Gigo in Mega Gnar form. As Aegis able to pick up 1. He gets the reset. Titan can now jump onto DeSalmis on the back line. It's a 3-for-2 in favor of Liberty. But the game is just over. The back door comes from Crastiel.
Oh my
The minions have taken care of both Nexus turrets. Red knew they had to fight, and game 1 goes to Liberty.